So guys, in today's video, I'm going to tell you how we got into trouble with the police in the UK. Like, it was not even a joke at the time this thing is happening. I'm telling this story now and it looks like, oh, I've gone past it. Yeah, but then when it happened, it wasn't funny. And I want you guys to pay attention to this story because I know you're going to get something from it at the end of the day. On this fateful day, we were just at home, like normally chilling. And then we got a letter in our house. And most times, if I get a letter, I usually don't just rush to the door to get it because, of course, it's already in my house. So whenever I just go to the passage, I'll just pick it up and read it and know what the letter is saying, or just check and know what the delivery is all about. Or if my daughter is around, I just tell her that we have a delivery, or even if she hears the sound, she'll just go and say, we have a delivery, she'll go pick it up and get it for us, right? But on this day, for some reason, when, I noticed that we had a letter in our house, I was the one who was close, so I just went, picked it up, I opened it, and guys, boom, I got the shock of my life, right? It was letter from the Cheshire police. And in my head, I was like, what's happening? And normally when something like this happens, I usually don't panic. Like, something could happen somewhere and everybody's just panicking. Oh, I'm usually very calm. I try to process it. I'm like, okay. But this one, I was panicking a bit. I'm like, why would the police send us a letter? What's happening? I guess the title of the letter was what made me panic a bit. When I saw the title of the letter, it was titled Notice of Intended Prosecution. I'm like, God, what's happening? Like, see prosecution. It didn't really click, the spot of the moment, like you just got a letter, notice of intended prosecution from the police, and you're like, what's happening? So I took the letter to my husband, who was in the kitchen at that time. So he was like, oh, this doesn't look good, because I didn't even read it. Just the title of the letter alone, I was just like, what's happening? Why would the police send us a letter? And most times people are just careful when it comes to the police and all that. Nobody wants to have any issues with the police, right? So when I opened that letter with the title Notice of Intended Prosecution, you could imagine what was going through my head at that time. So my husband was the one who was more calm at that point. So he now went through the letter. That was when we now realized what was actually happening. And guys, it was a prosecution. Like, the police was really prosecuting us. And you'll be asking what happened. So let me take you guys to what happened really, like what the police was all about and why they had to send a letter to our house. Let me take you to the beginning of the whole event. Hopefully you will learn a thing or two and try to avoid this sort of situation. Because guys, honestly, I don't think it's a situation anybody would like to be in. Okay, so my daughter's school is about 2 miles from our house. It's about 30 minutes walk or so, though I haven't really trekked it, but whenever you're driving to the school, you know that it's quite a distance from our house. People trek to school from there, people use their bicycles and all of that, but we just prefer to take her to school and bring her back, right? And then where her school is, there are other schools there as well, about 100 meters apart or something, like 2 or 3 schools there as well. In fact, opposite her school, there's also a secondary school there outside the other primary schools that are just close by. So you can imagine the traffic, the congestion, and how busy that area would be whenever it's time for school run. Like in the morning when it's time for children to go to school, and then after school hours, it's usually very busy. I don't know if you get the picture. Like, imagine where you have about 3 or 4 schools, together. So people usually just find where to park their cars. Like, you just find a space, park your car, rush into school, drop your kids in school, or after school, you find a space, just fit in your car anywhere you see, as fast as possible, because usually don't take long. Taking a child from your car, anyway, depends on where you park though, because sometimes you might not be lucky enough to find a parking space very close to the school. You might just have to park like far away, where you have to trek like a short distance to get into school, or take your kids to school, or pick them up. But it's a very common sight to just see people park anywhere. Like, parents literally park anywhere they can find space, anywhere they can just squeeze in their car. So long as you're not blocking the road and obstructing other road users, that's fine. So people just literally just squeeze in their cars anywhere they can find space just to park, rush into school, drop their kids or pick them up, as the case may be. So it's a common sight. I usually see that often. So on this day, we went there as usual to pick her up from school. And guys, there was no space. Like, we drove round and round and round. We just couldn't find any space to park the car. The only space we found was just after a zebra crossing. And trust me, guys, okay, there were other cars parked there. Like, people usually park cars there every other day. Like, guys, people park on double yellow lines. In fact, people park anywhere they find space. Even on that spot that we parked, people usually park their cars there. And I think even on that day, somebody just drove out from that spot, and that was how we're able to find that space to park there. So we just parked there and hurriedly went in to get my daughter. I was in front of the car with my baby, so my husband just hurriedly went into the school to get our daughter, from school and all that. And that would usually take less than 5 minutes because it was very close to school. It was just opposite the school. It wasn't like we parked very far away where you have to like trek a distance and go to school and then trek back. It was just opposite the school, right? And then all of a sudden, I just saw a man who came out and was just shouting, "I'm sorry, you don't have to park here. Why did you park here? I will have to report you to the council," and just went on and on. He now took pictures of our car. I was in the car, remember, I was in the car with my baby. So he saw me, so I just didn't know what to do. Like, I'm like, "Oh, sorry, sir, but he didn't even want to listen to me because as I was talking, he was already taking pictures, so there was no point. I just kept quiet and stayed in the car. When he was done with what he was doing, he left. And the funny thing is that it was just a picture of our car he took. Remember, there were other cars parked there as well, but I don't know why it was only a picture of our car he took, because I was watching, I was like, okay, make sure you take a picture of all these cars that are not properly parked. But he took a picture of our car, and the next thing he has gone back to where he came from. I didn't even see him again. And I was like, okay, I didn't really overthink it. Do you get? So when my husband came back, I told him what happened, and we're like, okay, let's just go home and wait for whatever is going to happen. So it was obvious that this man took a picture of our car and reported us for wrong parking. And that was why 1 week later, we got a letter from the police. And this letter was addressed to our house. It's my husband's name on it. So it was for us, like it was our letter. Now, yes, we parked at the wrong spot, no doubt. This is not in any way to excuse our wrong parking. But this is not an unusual sight at that hour in that school. Like, it's something that you would always see. Even if you go back to that school tomorrow at that hour, you will still see cars that are parked everywhere around that place on double yellow lines, even on that spot that we parked every single time. That was even why we had to park there in the first place, because other people parked there. So yeah, my point is, it wasn't really a new thing in this hour around this school. But anyways, my husband being the driver of the car at that point, admitted to the offense, and then the police gave us two options. Either he pays a fine of £100 and have 3 points on his license, or he pays and registers for a national driver offender retraining course. Now, why am I sharing this story? I'm sharing this story just to tell you that if you've recently moved to the UK or you are just about to start driving, familiarize yourself with the highway codes. You see everything you read for your theory test or everything you're about to read for your theory test. Don't just read it for reading's sake. Please practice it. You might just be parking carelessly or just doing some things here and there and be going scot-free, and you think that it's okay. Please don't do it again, because you might just get busted someday. Okay, so please, let's all of us just be careful and tread carefully. Let's try to obey road signs and just do the right thing. See, trust me, you don't want the police sending you letters in these tough times to pay fines. Like, no matter how small the fine is, nobody wants to be getting letters from police up and down to get fined, because in the letter they'll tell you if you don't do what they ask you to do, you don't pay the fine within a particular time, within a particular period of time, they'll take you to court, and things like that. And I'm not sure it's something anybody wants to go through. Like, I'm not sure you want to go through all that stress. And for new drivers, like you just got your license in the UK and you just started driving, if you get 6 points on your license within the first 3 years of having that license, you would lose your license. I'm not sure it's something you want to do. And if you're still using your non-UK driver's license, the one you use for the first 12 months of your arrival in the UK, and you're thinking that you've escaped it, no. If you're caught, you can still be fined and issued points. So I'm glad we got the option to go take a course instead. But also note that if you escape getting points on your license and you're sent for a course, if you commit any other offense, you won't be sent for a course within the next 3 years. Like if you commit any other offense within the next 3 years, you won't be sent for a course again, but rather you'll be given points on your license. And also, some serious driving offense like drinking and driving can appear on your DBS, and you might find it very difficult to get a job. Like it might affect you in the future. So that's why I'm saying everybody should just be careful. And finally, being sent on a driver course is at the discretion of the police, so you might not be given that option. You might just have the option of paying fine and having points added to your driver's license. So it just depends on the police and what their mood would be, or whatever is attainable in the city you live in whenever you commit such offense. And then I'm not sure anybody would want to have points on their license, because it affects a lot of things. Because having points on your license also affects your insurance, obviously. Like it would increase the amount of money you have to pay on insurance premium. So that's why I'm saying, like, it's just better to avoid these things totally. Okay, if possible, try and stay away as far as possible from such offenses. I hope this video helps somebody. Thank you for listening to this story. I shared it so that somebody will take home something from it and will try and avoid the same mistakes that we made. All right, thank you all for watching this video. If you have any question, please leave it in the comment section. If you've experienced similar thing too, feel free to share your experience with us in the comment section. All right, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye bye.